All right. So, hello. Hello again. For those of you who are outside, which is just 2 people, I'm going to share. So I'm going back to a few slides. Don't worry about like breaking your neck. It shouldn't happen. I'm going to keep talking about this. And like I said, we have an exercise after this. So I need to duplicate this. What's going on, Luis? You were supposed to have on your notebooks the notes from last class, right? Since if you're not pushed to do it, I'm gonna have to open a place over the platform for today, not for tomorrow. I'm gonna open it for today before we leave 1 p.m. There should be a space, so you are gonna have today. When I'm saying today is like you have the afternoon to upload your proof, your evidence that you copied thoughts on your notebook. Because I'm watching your faces, even though you're wearing a mask, I'm seeing your eyes, and you're telling me a lot. Like, we didn't copy it down. There is the pictures that Anael uploaded to the group on WhatsApp, but I forgot it. The instruction was clear. You need to copy it into your notebooks. Why? Because the majority of the information is kept with the recorders. Like Yesenia and the ones that were the recorders. And also with the speakers, because the speakers collected that information. And what about the rest? Since I didn't see you taking notes, that's what I asked you. Hey, you need to make sure to use your notebooks. They're in your backpack for a reason. Or are you just carrying a backpack just because it looks nice on your back? I don't think so. It's heavy. So we don't carry a backpack just because we love it. We've never done that. Okay, so just remember that. You're gonna have this afternoon, not tomorrow. If you don't send it this afternoon, that's a very easy thing to do. It's a very simple task that you can complete in 5 to 10 minutes. It was very short sentences. Very simple points that were here in the board. Okay, same to you. And so let's just finish with this. We talk about immigration and we know what that meant. To leave one country or region to settle in another, that's fine. And I just wanna include a point here. Look at the, it's closer to you. It's closer to you and your neck and your health and everything. So an extra point to mention about immigration that no one mentioned it before. We are all immigrants. And you're like, what? That was scary. I'm sorry. But at least these 2 people have emigrated from their original place, right? And for the majority of you, if you want to trace your ascendants, where are your parents from? Where are your grandparents from? Jessica Gijon, she's coming from a different state. But we in Mexico, we Mexicans, we are all mixed. It's what's called, racially speaking, a mixture. Because our ascendants comes from Europe, Asia, Africa, and a little bit of Mexico, but just a little bit. If you remember our story, how the mixed happened. I don't know about you, but I try to know about my ascendants, which I don't know much. I gotta be honest. I just know that from both of my sides, from my mother and my father, there's some Spaniard blood over there. But that's the most common thing, because the Spaniards were the ones that conquered us. But that's immigration. Was it positive? Yeah and no. They killed most of the native Mexicans. They pushed our religion to us. I'm part of that religion, but that's not the point. Okay. You need to understand history. And in those terms, when you see a politician speaking like it's totally against immigration, it's like, hey, you don't even know your ascendants. Like your history, your ancestors were not from this region. So everybody is an immigrant. Everybody at some point becomes an immigrant, legally or not legally. But that's the truth. We moved because there is a need to move. If we go back to ancient history, thousands of years back, what happened with humanity? Do you remember what the history tells? Nomads. What does being a nomad mean? Nómada. Okay. Exactly. Keep moving from one place to another, but why? I have yeah, basically, because what? Because we need to eat. You need to complete the sentences, but that was a really good point. Because it's about surviving. We need to eat. We need to what? Survive. We need to survive. Does it link something in your mind? This is history. So for a simple human being as you are, and myself too, everyone is simple. We shouldn't complicate our lives and saying that, oh, I am superior to you and I am the chief of this country, which is the president, of course, or the first minister. It depends on which country are you speaking of. But it's the same thing. Your system is related to what my system is. You have a heart, I have a heart. You have lungs, I have lungs. The only difference with humans is if you were born as a man or if you were born as a woman. We're not talking about sexual preferences here. That's not the discussion yet. We can talk about it, but no. Gender, that's the only difference we have. But in terms of a brain, everyone has a brain. But our history as human beings tells us that everyone has to immigrate at some point. So in terms of that, if we relate to that, immigration is an okay thing. It's been part of our history. Even if you are considering that it's a negative thing. But everything has its points. But yeah, I want to especially congratulate again all of the teams for working, for speaking about it. And well, let's talk a little more and leave immigration, the immigration part. And let's talk about persuading. So there is a message involved. That's what it says in there. And if you want to look at over there and look at over me, that's fine. So it will have to be related to two main routes or routes. Talking about motivation, effort, attitude. And in terms of those three things, if you put more energy into it or not. So those are the two routes or the two basic routes. What does it mean to be persuasive or to have persuasion? Can anybody read it from over there? Maybe Emma, which is closer over there. What does persuasion mean? It's an act of? With some energy, Emma. Put some energy into your voice, please. There are
example of observing in any given case the overall meaning of persuasion.
Okay, so it's keeping telling us you will have to consider when you are persuading someone, you need to think about motivating that someone or that people, because we can talk about more than one, right? So we need to consider about motivating people. When we think about that topic, motivation is not that easy because you're thinking, what if I'm talking with someone who is having some trouble in their personal life? How can I motivate a person that already has so many problems on his or on her life? So it's like, motivation is not that easy. One of the key points, yes, is about think of what the other person, or think about the other person. The other person. Think. Think. It's about thinking of the mind, not a think, an object. Thank you very much. Yeah? No. Okay. Things. Feels. And probably means. With that word, I want to include saying that you have to watch the other person and see if there's something more. That's why I include the means. Yes? Yes. This is about being. Oh, you're very close to the word. Alan. So, yes. And then we have a story about persuasion. Aristotle taught that rhetoric, or the art of public speaking. Aristoteles, for those of you who don't remember that one. Okay. Aristotle says that it's an art, the art of speaking. But he mentioned that is a faculty of observing, and that's when he went back to this part. Being empathic, of course, try to see what the other person thinks, what it feels. And in any given case, this means, says Aristotle, persuasion. And then you should be asking yourselves right now, do I really need to persuade people when I speak? This is for any conversation. It doesn't just include public speaking or speaking to an audience. This includes every time that you're speaking to just at least one person. Do I need to persuade another person? The answer should be yes. Thank you very much for the answer. And then why? Okay, because we need to let the other people know what's going on with us. And because
we need to convince the other person that what we're saying is correct and that we have the truth, or that we're saying the truth about something.
Okay, so you're saying, okay, because we need to tell the other person that the truth, we have the truth. But what about this type of conversations that include feelings? A relationship. We're not just talking about boyfriend, girlfriend, or husband, wife. I'm talking about, yes, relationships that you have with close people. Do you always have to persuade the other person? Yes, that's another point. Sometimes you're going to be the one persuading people, and sometimes you're going to be persuaded. That's part of having a balance in our attitudes, in how we move, how I move, how I talk with other people. Remember something very important here. Everything that we are covering right now goes back to one of the soft skills that you as a professional engineer needs to have. Leadership, exactly. You knew it with the L, right? Leadership. So I'm making that even bigger. I don't know if they can see it, but yeah, maybe not because I have an angle on it. Leadership. Leadership tells you, yes, you need to have some other skills to be able to manage people. But in those terms, you have to be able to listen, and yes, sometimes you have to be persuaded by those in your team. But just remember that, because yeah, and I had a very good point. It's very important. We need to convince the other people, but let us not forget that sometimes we have to be persuaded the other way around. Okay, this is very simple. We're just practicing English with this topic. Okay, so I have a graph over here. This graph, I cannot really read the source, but it's over there. It's from Lumen. It's a Lumen Learning, and they talk about what is perception. And I really enjoyed and liked that graph because you can see it visually. You can see how persuasion goes. Sometimes you have a hostile receiver from the information. Someone that is totally against your idea, completely, 100%, or if there was even more, if there was the option of being even more against you, there's people like that. But when you go back and consider this big point that we said over here, be empathic, think about the other person. Then this goes and moves from a person that is hostile, then it goes to a person that is negative. But then if you keep trying that, you need to keep trying to that blue square that says neutral. You need to move a conversation to a certain point that goes neutral. Once you get it there, it goes easier. It turns out to be easier because now you started seeing that the mind of the other person is changing. Okay. And then, of course, we are going to end up with a person supportive. But persuasion depends mostly on the audience. Yes, of course, it depends on the other person who is listening to you or the other people. That's why, again, think about what they are thinking. That's why most of our conversations, professionally speaking, we need to prepare. I'm saying most of the conversations that are professional. If it's just a common conversation, not necessarily needs a persuasion into it. Especially gossiping. You don't need to convince the other person that I mean, if we're Sergio and if you and I are talking about Luis, I don't need to convince you that Luis is good or not. That's, well, sometimes gossiping goes that way. Chismear, that's gossiping. Okay. But professionally speaking, I mean, let's go back to being engineer. Sometimes you're gonna have to speak as a leader, and you're gonna have to be speaking to or towards your team, your group of people. And sometimes you have to speak to your boss, the leadership that goes on top of you. And it could be just a regular conversation, but in terms of the job, you have to know what you're doing. You have to know about your activities. You have to have the data of your activities. And you need to report them. One of the ways to report is not written report, is speaking. Yes, it's part of communication, but it's not written, it's verbal communication, orally speaking. With this movement. Everybody understands this one, right? It's kind of like the international sign of speak. Yeah. So, since we're going to have to convince people, the only way is we need to convince them to want to have that information or to want to do something. So, in terms of that, is we need to convince the other person or the other people that they really want that. There's an example here. Even if you put a gun, this is a gun to the head of someone, that someone still has a decision. It's free. Even if I'm pointing a gun to you, which I'm not, this is only an example, okay? So don't look at me like I'm gonna kill you because I'm not. No, I'm not. No. But even if I'm forcing you, you still can make a decision. And so that's the thing. When you don't include any object to force someone, then we are relating to the words that we're saying. And our words needs to go to the other person's mind and change their mind and believe in what we're saying. There are words, so many words that we can use and try to convince the other people. That's why we're going to have an example and an exercise in the second part of this class. But first, let's talk about, there are some scientific analysis that can tell us with data that people are easily persuaded that this can happen. Even if you are not a professional in persuading people. And I'm saying that word. There is people that is so good. Whatever they tell, you're going to believe them. Really? Okay. Even if they tell you to, what we say, to jump into a well, brincar en un pozo, we'll do it because they are so good. But that's because they know about the rules. They are called the laws of persuasion. It's true. I mean, I'm not saying this. This is what a lot of studies, and there are scientific studies that tells us it happens. This is more with the psych. It's a psychological thing. And this, the new secretary. Yes. He's been appointed since yesterday. Dr. Saldaña, Dr. Juan Jose Saldaña. Yeah. Yeah, he's so good at that. He talks to you very soft, and then he convinces you, and then you think about it and you're like, oh, that's a lot of work. But he knows how to do it, right? Like what Sarai is saying, he's professional in that. That's what he does for a living. Ooh, so now we know who goes in the relationship. But it should be about the same. If you want to do it better in English, it's just about practice. Good thing right now. Good thing is that most of you are understanding. And I really hope that this is just not just for English. I'm hoping that you will put this into practice. And we'll see what happens in your lives. Because I'm hoping for all of you to be successful engineers. That's why I'm not talking about any other level other than being a leader. Because you can start working at a very low level, but I want you to be leaders. That's why I keep talking like that. And you need to believe it. I'm trying to persuade you right now. You need to believe it. You have everything that it takes. But if you still not believe it completely, you can do what it takes. It's about studying. It's about practicing. It's about keeping moving. Like that movie from Madagascar. Keep moving, moving. Yeah. But you need to apply it to your life. I don't know. Maybe you're going to remember me in that sense. Like, yeah. But it's like, I like to move it, move it. That's what it says in the song. But we can apply it to our lives. As simple as that. You want to fail in your life? Just sit down and do nothing. But I don't believe that you want to do that. You want to be successful, right? All of you. Yeah. So I like to move it, move it. Yeah, keep it like that. So 6 laws of persuasion. Just like that, I just included a list. There is no a lot of text into it because we can just talk about them very fast and easy. 6 laws is the first one says law of reciprocity. And I want your participations from you too. What do you think the law of reciprocity means in terms of persuasion? Or before I can actually tell you something else. Reciprocity is a cognate. It has the same roots as in Spanish.
Okay. I think it's like I'm trying to convince somebody to do something and the other person does it. Like it's mutual.
Okay, so you're getting something from that other person. Yeah, keep on doing this. But you are also getting something from the initial person. So that's why it should be a law, una ley. Okay, that's what a law means. It should have reciprocity. If you don't have that, persuasion is not going to go well. And it's going to end up in the waste, nothing, in the wastewater, and el drenaje. Okay, so we need to remember that. First law, reciprocity. Second law, commitment and consistency. Commitment. Yes and no. Commitment actually means to commit to something, to compromise. That's commitment, to be compromised. But it says inconsistency. Being committed. Why do you have to be committed? Because you tell me. You need to? Okay, you need to be persuasive. Yeah. But if you're going to persuade a person, you cannot persuade someone just how. Yeah. Yeah, you need to stick with your decision, of course. That's what it means. Loyal with ourselves. Oh, that's a great point also. Be loyal to your ideas. Yeah, good. And consistent. Don't start changing because immediately then you're going to lose that persuasion. Okay. Then law of liking. Law of liking. What do you think it's about? Law of liking. Going that way. Law of liking. In persuasion, why do you have to like? Gusto. It's something more like
Is this liking is this term like with to like something, or does it mean another thing?
to like the idea
Okay.
that you are putting into perspective. And It's part of like, you have to like it, the other person has to like it. That's going back to the example of even pointing a gun to yourself. The decision is up to the other person. So you need to make sure that that person likes the idea. It shouldn't be forced. But somehow, with words, you can convince the other person. It's kind of forcing, but not. It shouldn't be forced. It should be light. With the example that we have from the British Council, you're gonna see it. I'm just putting so much into that example. Law of scarcity. What does it mean? Now I made some trouble for you, right? Okay. What does it mean to have a law that says law of scarcity? First of all, you don't even know the word. So how can you mention something about that? I don't know. I'm just making an assumption here. Maybe you know the word. No? Okay, no. Okay, a total no. A total. Huh? The city. Ah, okay. Scarcity. Oh. No, it's not like that. It's not the root. I'm going there.
The topic that we're trying to defend is with our persona. Does it have to do with that?
Yeah. Well, most of the time, and with all of the laws. Yes, with all of the laws. Yeah. Yeah, it's about what is related, yes, but in terms of there is something going to be, there's always going to be something that is not totally related. So it's actually kind of like the opposite. Yeah. So there's always going to be scarcity, a necessity. But that's part of the persuasion. If I change the word for necessity, if that necessity exists from both sides, from the opposite side to what your topic or object or idea is that you're trying to persuade, as long as it exists, there is a chance of persuasion. As long as the need from both sides, from both sides exists, there is a chance for persuasion. Law of authority. That's easier. What about the people from over here? Let's hear them. Vanessa, Yvonne, what do you think about the authority? Now you're looking to each other. In terms of persuasion, do you think that authority is important? Okay, now you gave me something. Yes, but why? Why is it a yes? It's because what about you, Luis Roman? What can you say about the law of authority? Luis Roman?
We need authority because really we need be strong with people because sometimes they are liars in something things. So we need be strong with they.
Okay, I'm gonna change the word strong for power. When you do show power to the other person, it's easier. It's easier because you're putting yourself into a different position. But remember that having strength or power doesn't mean to push the other person down. That's not the meaning of having power. With power comes responsibility. So with authority comes responsibility. With that responsibility, we persuade people, not harming anyone, sin dañar a nadie. Okay, so we connected those ideas. And that's when a very nice word comes. We talk about this in quality management in the class on your third semester, and we covered that also into the, with those of you who are majoring in quality systems. We talk about empowerment. Super important. When you have given empowerment to a person where the other person feels the power, they can keep moving. And that goes again to leadership and to teamwork. Everyone should be empowered. Nowadays, with the government changing around the world, we have talked a lot about empowerment for women. And that's because it needed some persuasion to change that into the world. Sadly, we have a very strong and bad example that happened on September this year, what happened in Afghanistan. Women had some empowerment already, it's in the past, because the government moved back to be Taliban, and the Talibans are very straight-minded, very square and straight. They do believe that women shouldn't study or work outside or and so on, and even being in politics, that's impossible. But that's a big example on how persuasion with the wrong authority ends up compromising the lives of several people. That's a very wrong example, but we need to discuss these things so we understand what it means. And law of social proof. Social proof. We sort of talk about this in environmental engineering when we talk a lot about sustainable development. And I'm going back to that topic because sustainable development considers, if you remember, the environment, the economy, and the society. I'm giving you that big example so you can understand this. When you're talking about a law of social proof. If persuasion is understood by a society, it doesn't mean it has to be thousands of people. It could be a 5, 4, or 1. But there is proof of that. Okay? Yes? At least over there, there used to be some of those terms. And with that said, yeah, we completed that part. Guys, I'm going to send you for an Karen and Luis Roman. Luis, I'm going to send you a link because you're going to watch a video. But before the video, we're going to talk about a few sentences. If you consider them to be, yes, of importance for persuasion, let me see where it is. It should be in here. Because I have to, I'm showing the channel, the YouTube channel. So before we watch the video, We're gonna do the preparation exercise. So now, yes, if you can see the board over there, that's good. If not, let me see. It's the task 1. There should be a few questions. No, it's not the task 1. No. Let me see. Wait a second. It's the preparation task, but I don't see it showing. Wait a second. Wait a second. Wait a second. There are a few questions on the preparation task. There it is. Yeah, there. So, yeah, I'm gonna write them over here in the board too, for those of you who are having trouble with your next. Okay. So, and over there, you guys and Karen anyways, try to answer those questions. First thing to do the exercise, since we're talking about persuasion, we're gonna have an example. But let's think about a few phrases and then consider which ones are the ones that we can use for persuasion. So I'm gonna write them down. First one says, I'd really appreciate your help with this. Really appreciate. Thank you. I appreciate it. Your help with this. That's one of the options, okay? Another option says, why don't you give it a go? Why don't you give it a go? Third option we have is, I'm not very good at that. I'm not very good at that. Then we have another, I have them here. I'm trying to look at them. And then we have another option. You'd really be helping me out. You'd really, it will, right? Oh no, you'd be helping me out. We have a fifth option. I don't usually do that kind of thing. I don't usually do that. I'm very slow going here. That kind of thing. And you'd be brilliant at it. You'd be brilliant at it. With the exclamation mark, of course. Come on. Come on. There is nothing to lose. There's nothing to lose. We haven't, yes, exclamation mark. And then it says, okay, I'll think about it. I'll think about it. Okay, so we have those options. So which ones do you think are used for persuasion? Not all of them. So what does it say? Come on, okay, we're gonna mark them. And after we check them over there, we're gonna see. I already know, of course, but is there another one that you think that is good for persuasion? Okay, why don't you give it a go? We're gonna mark that one. Remember that not all of them. You have to choose 5. We have been chosen 2 of them. Wait. Let's see if the other ones can say something. No, that's fine. I'm enjoying it a lot, but then I forget that there's a lot of people, so I shouldn't forget. Which other ones? We have 2 already selected. We'll see if that works. I don't usually. Okay, I don't usually do that kind of thing. Okay. That was okay. What was? Okay, you chose that one. So another one, a 5th. Okay, it doesn't matter if you're not okay with those. Just wait. Thank you. Another person besides Sarai and Anael. Like Raquel did, she chose one of them. Okay, you'll be really be helping me out. Maybe. Okay, good. So let's taste them. So we're gonna go and check them. I already know that 2 of them are wrong. I'll tell you why. But I'm gonna choose those. So it was, why don't you give it a go? I'm not very good at that. You'll be really helping me out. I don't usually do that kind of thing. Come on, there's nothing to lose. Okay, from those, yeah, 2 are wrong, right? That one and that one, yes. So if you click on it, yes, it says, something is wrong. Can you see why? Why? This doesn't work good. Let me see if this one works. Why? I'm not very good at that, and I don't usually do that kind of thing, are not related to trying to persuade the other person. When they start going negative, they may not be persuaded. So that's one thing that we need to remember. Persuading people, it has to take the negative parts out. Even if the point that you're trying to use with the other person is negative, you shouldn't use negative sentences. You should try to go around and tell the whatever it is that you're trying to say in a positive way. Yeah. So which ones were the other ones that were supposed to be correct? We need 2 more because these 2 were not correct, right?
You be Brian at it.
You be brilliant at it, and I really appreciate your help with this. Correct. That was with Roman, and which one was the other one? Hayden. Thank you. Yes. Now that we understand a little more, yes, it's about that. So now, yes, I'm going to ask you to take a look at the video. I'm gonna turn on the captions. You can watch it from here. It's enough. Yeah, you're gonna be able to see it from there. And from those of you over there at home, I'm gonna give you the link. So I'm sending it to you through Zoom. Wait, where's the chat? Give me the controls. The controls are here. Chat. I don't see the chat. Ah, it's open here. Okay, just go click on it. This is from the British Council, and to save some time, I'm not going to be projecting it through Zoom. I'm going to stop recording right now and